What you're hearing is what we call the issues and problem stage. Something happened. Something developed at a time in somebody's life where they had no control over it happening. They had became victims. Now, there's a difference. When we work with this from different perspectives, like a victim would be somebody when you have no control. That's what we're talking about, the true victim. I'm not talking about you walk down south side of Tucson with a $100 bill hanging out your pocket, you get robbed, you're a victim, but you kind of brought that on to yourself. We're talking about a time when they had, and so we have different experiences. We talk about death, loss, we talk about molestation, whatever it may be, something happened to that person where they had no control, and the emotion from it led them to feel like they didn't have any value at all. But there's a funny, crazy thing about this, and not funny, but it's a crazy thing about this victim. And in their efforts to live in their own skin, they started to, in the effort to try and live in their own skin, they developed these defensive mechanisms, these things to protect themselves. What are some other examples of defensive mechanisms?
Fighting.
Fighting.
Isolation.
Isolation. When you think about that wall, something to protect yourself where you start to feel, you think good about yourself. But the same behaviors that you're practicing, these defensive mechanisms, actually lead you to the same emotions that you felt at the time that you got hurt. So that wall that I put up, because I felt hurt or isolated, abandoned from my parents, when I put up this wall and it worked and you couldn't get to me, I get that squirt of dopamine, guess what? It tells me that wall is okay, but who's behind that wall with me?
Me.
Just me. I've recreated the same emotions that I'm running from. And then I wind up, in this protective mode, I wind up hurting others. Taking control over others' emotions. Not that I can control you, because we're in control of how we think, feel, and behave. We're given responsibility for that. So, in knowing that, this is a segue. Knowing that, there's really no such thing as, hey, why'd you do that? Yeah, you do. You just don't want to face the consequences. And then there really is no such thing as, I hit her in the head because she made me mad. No. You chose to hit her in the head or hit him in the head because they chose to believe and do something that you chose not to like. You understand that? You chose not to like something. Somebody does something because you can't control other people, and now it makes you mad. So your own emotions, your own thinking is making you upset. So defensive mechanisms could be emotions as well. It's like if you take the term depression. Depression is an emotion. Energy and motion. Which direction is that energy? Depression. Down. Whose emotion is it? Who's pushing it down?
You.
Right. So it's not just floating around, there's Sean. I'm going to get Sean and jump on you. No. Your own thinking and behaviors bring that on. Okay, y'all with me?
Yes.
And so when I'm dealing with my folk, I tell them that, and it shakes them up because they've been in recovery, not in recovery, but dealing with doctors and medications because COPE is a behavioral health agency. And they can't believe that they're bringing this stuff onto themselves.
Yeah.
They really can. And it's a problem for anybody to look at that because who wants to associate with predator? Predator, hell, I don't have to wear coat. We're talking about hurting folks, and we just term it that way. And believe me, it happens to everybody. And the crazy thing about this victim is the fact that in my file system, in my brain in the past, my mom and dad were in my victim file. Y'all hear what I'm saying? My mom and dad were in my victim file. So I didn't want the situation to happen that way. I didn't want them to die. So now, every time I want to get with my mother and my father, guess what I have to do? Guess what kind of behaviors I have to practice? I have to practice behaviors to bring me back to my victim. So I find myself getting in relationships with women who couldn't love me. They couldn't because they were having issues and problems like me. I knew that. And I go and get them anyway. So I can try and prove why the Lord had taken my folks away from me. We run back to this. So now earlier I talked about association. So every time I think about my mom and my dad, I hurt. Then every time I hurt, I learned to drink and get high. So now this table right here, like every time I see it, I think about our family dinners. I touch it, right? I think about them. But then if I take a drink and I'm all messed up, now I touch this table, I'm no longer thinking about the hurt feelings. This table is now actually helping me keep my balance. Right? And so guess what? I get a squirt of dopamine. Not only that, but I'm no longer thinking about my mom and my dad when I touch that table. So that tells me alcohol is a good thing for me. Because it takes away the emotions that I'm trying to run from. But look what alcohol does to us.